Aloha and good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to This Is Now.
We begin with this new at noon, a disturbing confrontation at a Waikiki hotel after a visitor lashes out at a drag performer. We have new reaction today because the incident was caught on camera and sources say the angry mother was put into handcuffs.
Are you dressed up? Are you a man? Are you a man pretending to be a woman?
It happened Sunday morning when an Alohilani Resort guest named Beth Bourne said she noticed 3 drag performers inside the lobby making a video and she didn't feel it was appropriate for kids. That's when the heated exchange happened, with the video going viral. Police were eventually called and Bourne says she was escorted back to her room. Sources say she was not arrested or charged. Bourne is now back home in California and says she offers no apologies.
My feelings about the drag performers were not that the hotel was hosting them or even filming them, but that they were choosing to do it in a space in the hotel that was being used by families, parents, people with young children, in a space that you would not be able to avoid.
She was hell-bent on making sure that that was heard loud and clear and on tape. You felt sadness for her simply because you felt sadness and pity simply because you knew you couldn't, there was no talking around this. I'm not surprised when things happen with the way the world is.
The resort tells us it has a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. Meanwhile, Bourne's employer, the University of California, Davis, released a statement saying it's aware of the widely circulated video and condemns the offensive statements as deeply hurtful. It goes on to say while its employees' comments are protected by the First Amendment, they do not reflect the values of respect and belonging that form the foundation of its campus community. A Big Island judge has sentenced child predator Micaiah Smith to 15 years in prison. A jury convicted the 32-year-old in April on child porn and enticement charges. The evidence included graphic texts that Smith sent to an undercover officer posing as a 15-year-old girl. Smith must also register as a sex offender. An aggressive 10 to 12-foot shark was seen on Oahu's North Shore at Pua'ena Point, approximately 80 yards from shore. Signs have been posted at Pua'ena Point and Laniakea Beach. Always check in with a lifeguard for the latest ocean conditions. Meanwhile, the community says goodbye to a friend and lifeguard Tamayo Perry while still trying to make sense of his death. There are 2 memorials growing for Perry, one at Maui, where he died, and the other near his lifeguard post at Pipeline, where colleagues talked about lives saved, not lost. Professor Kim Holland says tiger sharks are common around Hawaii, but it's very difficult to predict where one might strike. He says Maui seems like an unlikely place.
We don't really know why every once in a great while sharks decide to bite somebody. It's a mystery. And it's especially a mystery since even here in Hawaii, very recently, there's been reports, and I've seen this myself, of sharks swimming very close to surfers and very close to swimmers, and nothing happens.
Professor Holland added that the major reason people die from these attacks is from blood loss or shock. Both factors can be reduced if you have somebody there to help you. The Lahaina Wildfire has claimed another life. Monday afternoon, officials identified 68-year-old Claudette Heermans of Lahaina as the 102nd fatality, dying from injuries she suffered in the August disaster. According to the Washington Post, 20% of her body was burned. She was initially taken to Maui's hospital the day of the fire, but was flown to Oahu the next day to be treated. She entered hospice care nearly 4 months later. The State Department of Transportation has picked a date to reopen Ho'opi'ilani Highway. The road from Keawe Street to Hokiokio Place will open August 1st, prior to the start of the public school year. When reopened, the highway will be primarily for through traffic only, as ongoing repairs and recovery work are being conducted on the side streets. And Maui County is holding its 5th and final wildfire recovery plan meeting this Saturday. A workshop focused on Lahaina's historic and business districts, Micaiah of Ho'opi'ilani Highway, is scheduled from 3 to 5:30 p.m. inside Lahaina Luna High School's cafeteria. The county aims to release its draft recovery plan this fall, and a final plan by the end of the year. And the devastation on Maui is a reminder that wildfire disasters are not just a reality on the mainland anymore. Casey Lund has more on how you and your family can be prepared during some of the driest and hottest months of the year.
Aloha from Nanakuli, one of the neighborhoods here on the west side of Oahu that's really susceptible to those dangerous fire conditions, fire weather conditions, things like hot temperature, dry conditions, and increased winds, especially during the summer months as we're well into hurricane season. One of the things that HFD stresses is defensible space, 30 feet from your home to the edge of your property with low-cut grass, no dry shrubs. But if you don't have that space, they've also been encouraging folks to plant different things like dragon fruit, things that are fire resistant, native Hawaiian plants and succulents that will not end up being fuel for a wildfire. We've also been talking with the Department of Emergency Management, stressing the importance of making a plan and being ready to go. We also heard from the DEM about a plan from HECO to shut off power in high-risk neighborhoods when fire weather and dangerous conditions call for it.
Under certain high risk conditions, including this sort of drought condition, dry conditions, along with high winds, that presents some additional risk for wildfires from the electrical system. So HECO is coming up with plans on how they would do that for specific areas of the island. So it's not going to be for every area of the island, but one thing to keep in mind, there is the area that's potentially impacted by the PSPS, and for Oahu, that's going to be on the west side of the island.
That program, the Public Safety Power Shutoff, is going to be in the following areas on Oahu starting on July 1st. Waianae, Makaha, Nanakuli, Maili, and Kaena Point. It affects about 2,700 customers. Hawaiian Electric says they'll only activate that power shutoff with information from the National Weather Service, and they will notify customers before doing so. We also want to note that that's not just for Oahu. HECO says they have a criteria and areas on other islands where we'll make that call. Again, depending on information they get from the National Weather Service, you should be aware of those plans and the areas impacted. You can find all that information in the As Seen on Sunrise section of our homepage, hawaiinewsnow.com. Reporting in Nanakuli, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back to you.
The state health department has confirmed this year's 5th case of dengue virus in Hawaii, this time on Oahu. The DOH says the patient recently traveled to a region where dengue is known to be spread. These symptoms include fever, nausea, vomiting, rash, and body aches. Officials say if you've traveled recently to an area where dengue is common and you have these symptoms, you should contact a doctor. The nation's top doctor says gun violence impacts Americans even if they aren't directly involved in a shooting. Dr. Vivek Murthy took steps Tuesday to address the concern. Natalie Brand has more from Washington, D.C.
With too many summer weekends ending with a staggering tally of shootings across the U.S., the nation's top doctor, Vivek Murthy, says enough is enough.
Gun violence is a public health crisis in our country that requires a public health solution.
The Surgeon General is making this first of its kind declaration, with firearms now the leading cause of death in children and teens, while more than half of adults say they or a family member have experienced a gun-related incident. Following the massacre at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, that killed 19 children and 2 adults in 2022, Congress passed bipartisan gun safety legislation, the first major federal bill to address the issue in 30 years. But since then, additional measures have stalled in a divided Congress. Dr. Murthy says it's time to take the issue out of politics.
The good news is there's a lot we can do. There are, for example, community violence intervention programs that we can invest in. There are safe storage education programs that we can expand. There are firearm risk reduction strategies like background checks.
And gun violence is taking a toll on the nation's mental health, according to the Surgeon General, with nearly 80% of adults saying they stress about the possibility of a mass shooting, and half of the country's children worried about a shooting in their school. He's also calling for doctors to promote gun safety education during regular visits. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
There's only 2 days left before the presumptive presidential nominees go head-to-head on the debate stage in Atlanta, Georgia. And this will be the first time the two have faced off in a debate since 2020. NBC's Alice Barr has more.
As the clock ticks down to Thursday night's debate, key surrogates making the case for their candidates.
We are going to win.
Vice President Harris focused on reproductive rights while protesters rallied outside the Supreme Court. On the second anniversary of the overturning of federal abortion protections.
Donald Trump says he is proudly responsible for what he's done. Proudly responsible? That our daughter has fewer rights than my mother-in-law?
And with the Biden campaign debuting a new ad focused on former President Trump's legal troubles.
He's now a convicted felon.
His potential vice presidential picks on the attack against President Biden.
You destroyed the border. You've destroyed the purchasing power of every American citizen. The world is on fire under your watch.
After Mr. Trump said he'd chosen his running mate.
In my mind, yeah.
Do they know?
No, nobody knows.
And that his pick would be at the debate, several VP contenders raising the speculation.
I will be in Atlanta. I'm going to be there doing some events for the president.
We'll be there, Kaylee, for sure. We'll be there.
After spending the weekend on the campaign trail, former President Trump fundraising in Louisiana overnight, as President Biden zeroes in on intensive private prep for a debate that could reshape the race. The Biden campaign is hoping the debate helps them break through to a wider audience, with one senior advisor telling NBC News the president will be increasingly punchier against former President Trump, who's set to hold some informal policy sessions this week with advisors, along with public events. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
While the lights and power are back on in Chinatown, many businesses are still reeling from the days-long outage last week. And we've learned today that at least one business, the Lei Stand, will be pausing their nightly service after Saturday. The local bar says the multiple outages led to a nearly 6-digit loss in revenue, despite efforts to keep the business flowing. They said, quote, "The loss was too much for us to overcome," and they are now working to restructure their operations, focusing on hosting special and private events. We'll have more on this story and how other Chinatown businesses are doing following this incident. State Senator Kurt Favela is calling on Hawaiian Electric to give Chinatown residents more information about last week's power outage. He and others waved signs on Monday to support businesses that lost revenue during the 67-hour blackout involving an underground fire. Senator Favela says he wants the governor to do more to support the neighborhood and wants HECO to hold a public meeting to explain what happened.
At Hawaiian Electric, look how much money they made last year and this year. They're talking about their credit rating. They're worrying about going bankruptcy. What about the families and people in Chinatown that couldn't make ends meet for 3 days? Oh, go put them in. How long are they going to take to get compensated? It's not going to be like this. But try to see if you don't pay your electric bill. See if they don't cut you off like that.
In a statement, HECO responded saying, quote, "We are working diligently to determine the cause of the outages and to improve the reliability of service to the downtown and Chinatown network going forward. We have already initiated plans to work with the community to see how we can best support them at this time." And volunteers with the Chinese Chamber of Commerce will be going door to door today to meet with merchants offering help submitting claims for damages incurred as a result of the recent power outage. If you missed them, there's also an informational session you can attend Sunday, June 30th. That goes from 3 to 6 p.m. at the United Chinese Society office. They'll be going over how to complete claim forms there. Bilingual volunteers will be on hand. An update to a story we brought you yesterday. A Kailua baking mix company called Okina has trademarked the word Okina. And we checked their websites today and they are not up and running for reasons that are unclear at this time. However, our Alohilani Richardson spoke with Native Hawaiians who say the naming of their business is cultural appropriation and it must stop.
The name of the baking mix company based in Kailua is Okina, and here is its U.S. trademark. The Okina is a glottal stop and the 13th letter in the Hawaiian alphabet. The company website, okinakitchen.com, says Okina represents a break between two syllables. As our name, Okina represents a break from the rush of life, a pause that renews both people and the planet.
Culturally appropriating Hawaiian cultural traditions or language and then trademarking that so that we cannot use our own language is inappropriate. And that needs to stop.
Today, lawmakers and community leaders held the first meeting of the Native Hawaiian Intellectual Property Working Group that was created by the legislature and working to stop appropriation of Native Hawaiian culture, language, music, and ideas.
Just because a federal law dictates practice in a certain way doesn't mean that we have to stand for it here.
The issue of Native Hawaiian intellectual property rights sparked a protest when a Chicago eatery trademarked its name, Aloha Poke, and threatened to sue Hawaii companies with similar names. A Native Hawaiian restaurant owner in Alaska spent thousands of dollars changing her eatery's name, fearing she'd get sued.
And these are examples that are contemporary and fresh and have actual harm to parts of our community.
There's going to be pushback because there are those that would like to make money and monetize the cultural resources that don't belong to them.
Hawaii News Now checked the federal website, and Aloha Poke still has its trademark. We contacted Okina and did not hear back.
A state park and popular hiking trail on Oahu will be closed for part of the day today. The state is temporarily closing the Kaiwi State's Scenic Shoreline and Makapu'u Lighthouse Trail so Hawaiian Electric crews can remove de-energized power lines. The closure is until 3:30 p.m. and signs will be posted.
All right, let's take a live look outside over Honolulu, looking out towards the mountains. Beautiful day on this Aloha Tuesday. The temperature outside 82 degrees. We do have lighter winds on the way and maybe even some showers over the weekend. Guy Hagi has your full forecast after this quick break.
How's it on this Tuesday? The breezy trade winds will continue today. They'll lighten up by tomorrow. And you can see we are now, 25 days into hurricane season, and we're still very quiet here in the Central Pacific. There are a few clouds passing through, a few clouds and a few showers passing through those windward areas. Rainfall totals will be light for the next several days. The next chance for increasing rainfall is probably over the weekend. So enjoy and savor the trade winds today because they'll lighten up significantly by tomorrow. So humidity level is not really an issue today, but it's going to be a little stickier from tomorrow through the weekend because the winds will lighten up. But with those breezy winds, we've got some gorgeous conditions out there. Yeah, there's likely a few showers for a handful of windward spots, but statewide, we're not going to see significant rainfall. High temperatures running into the mid to upper 80s. Some leeward spots might get higher than 86. Now, because of the breezy winds today, the biggest waves are rolling into the east side, but this east wind swell will begin to taper off as those winds taper off by tomorrow. Otherwise, there are no significant swells coming in anytime soon, just minor pulses here and there. So we've got a long stretch of really beautiful weather. Granted, it's going to change a little bit because we have breezy winds today and significantly slower winds from Wednesday going into the weekend. The other thing to watch out for and be aware of is, even though we're not expecting a lot of rain, we are expecting increasing showers on Saturday and Sunday.
If we never tried, how will I know, baby, how far this thing could go?
That's Hawaii's own Kaylee Shimizu putting on a remarkable performance on this week's episode of Upfront with Guy Hagi. The former contestant on The Voice spoke about her time on the show, as well as the feedback she got afterward. Plus, she shares with us the inspiration behind her singing and what she has planned for the future.
I was just shocked, but I got some time to just sit back and think, and I feel like I won more than I lost.
Sure.
Because of the experience that I have gotten with this show and the exposure.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for that experience. It's honestly all on you after that, though, to make sure you're consistent, you're keeping in touch with your fans or supporters. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to just be consistent, work on my vocals more and work on myself. I really want to get into a good music college.
Oh, okay.
So I can learn about the business, learn about the industry, learn more about singing. Even if I think I know it all, I don't know it all, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's so much things to learn.
You can look for Upfront with Guy Hagi at hawaiinewsnow.com or wherever you get your podcasts. His next guest is social media star and local comedian Xavier Cummings.
On the next Spotlight Now, we catch up with Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi and discuss some of the issues happening at Honolulu Hale.
Always a lot to talk about with the mayor, including the leadership at the Honolulu Rail Project and his newly approved $4 billion budget. Join us at 1 o'clock on K5.
Buddhist monks from Thailand walked all the way from Key West, Florida to New York. It's a journey almost 3 months in the making. Maki Becker caught up with the group.
I'm crying. It's crazy because I've heard about their journey yesterday, right, Dad? I told her yesterday.
This is Brooke Dimmer, just after she had the chance to meet a group of Buddhist monks on an extraordinary journey. They've been walking all the way from Key West, Florida to Western New York. Their goal, to promote peace.
We love peace! We love peace! We love peace!
Their long walk began almost 3 months ago, set to end next Monday morning at the brink of Niagara Falls. This is the leader of the walking monks, Ton Sunan.
We work hard by walking because we want anybody to know peace comes from inside.
The monks are carrying nothing with them, just their orange robes and well-worn sandals. They left Dunkirk Monday morning, and as they walked north into Erie County, they were met every few hundred yards with people who wanted to meet them, bring them water, give them food and shelter, in awe of their dedication. They walked all the way from Florida.
My grandma lives in Florida.
Oh, send peace to your grandma.
So we're here on Route 20, and as you can see, people are just pulling over, gathering around these monks, and they want to meet them. They're talking to them, they're taking pictures with them, and that's the whole idea, to promote peace.
Okay, come this side. Come take a picture, come on.
An incredible experience. I couldn't even imagine what kind of feelings I would have, and their presence is outstanding.
The lightness in my heart right now, I feel like I'm floating. It's the best ever. I've been tracking down the Buddhists ever since I heard about them about 3 days ago.
I feel the need to walk with them. Yeah. Walking, I feel the need to walk with them.
It was pretty cool how they just wanted to take my baby and touch him and stuff like that. I'd never seen anything like that before, so it's pretty cool.
The 2,000-mile journey ends Monday morning at 9:30 in Niagara Falls.
You're no longer just showing aloha when you show the shaka, you're also flashing Hawaii's official state hand gesture. On Friday, Governor Josh Green signed Senate Bill 3312 into law, staking the island's claim to the iconic hand sign. Some were worried that if Hawaii did not make it an official designation, other states like California would. The legislation also auzes the state to create a public work of art honoring the shaka's history. Many believe it began a century ago in Laie when sugar mill worker Hamana Kalili lost his 3 middle fingers in an accident but still waved to people with his pinky and thumb.
Don't forget to throw a shaka, maybe when you're on the road, driving in traffic. That's one thing. We're from Kauai, right? So everywhere we go, people throw shaka.
Yes.
A little bit less on Oahu.
Yes, yes. A little nicer on Kauai.
But nonetheless, throw shaka, I still do it. Even, okay, not always, but sometimes I still do it, especially when someone lets you merge in on the freeway. Just throw the shaka, guys.
And I love that little historical note of the guy who might have lost his fingers.
Yeah,
so great.
Fun backstory there. Let's end outside today with a live look at Hilo Bay, a beautiful coconut island there. Reminder, Spotlight. Oh, that's wrong super there. Let's go. Again, Hilo Bay, Spotlight now is coming on at 1 o'clock, and they will have Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi on today.
Aloha.